The soft rhythmic hum of a newly calibrated battery prototype filled the spacious yet uncluttered research and development lab. For Dr. Nia Amani, founder and CEO of Aurora Automotive, it was the most beautiful sound in the world. At 38, Nia was a visionary entrepreneur, a brilliant mind dedicated to shaping the future of transportation. Her company, Aurora Automotive, wasn't just building electric vehicles. It was pioneering a new era of sustainable autonomous mobility, earning global acclaim for its cutting-edge technology and unwavering ethical stance. Nia, however, remained an intensely private individual. She believed that true innovation spoke for itself, preferring the quiet hum of progress in her labs to the blinding glare of public recognition. Her days were far removed from the typical chaotic schedule of a global CEO. You wouldn't often find Nia in a lavish corner office engaged in endless high-stakes meetings. Instead, her natural habitat was often the R&D lab, meticulously overseeing the final calibration of a revolutionary solid-state battery prototype. Her movements were precise, her focus absolute as she checked intricate diagnostics, her brow furrowed in concentration. Or perhaps she'd be hunched over a digital tablet, sketching intricate designs for an entirely recycled vehicle interior, pushing the boundaries of sustainable engineering. Her passion for making innovative ethical vehicles accessible was the driving force behind every decision, every late night spent perfecting a new algorithm. Evenings often found her away from the corporate spotlight, quietly giving back. She'd spend hours mentoring young engineers from diverse, often underserved backgrounds in a humble co-working space she had personally funded. Here, amidst the excited chatter of budding innovators and the scent of freshly brewed coffee, Nia would patiently guide a shy student through the complexities of AI-driven navigation, or gently encourage a hesitant, aspiring designer to refine their vision for a biodegradable interior. She wasn't just imparting knowledge. She was igniting sparks, fostering the very curiosity and ethical drive that defined her own remarkable journey. On this particular Tuesday, Nia was in the final stages of preparing for a monumental presentation. She was due to pitch Aurora Automotive's latest advancements to a consortium of government officials, a deal that, if secured, would revolutionize public transportation in several major cities and solidify Aurora's position as an industry titan. Just as she was gathering her materials, a frantic knock echoed on her lab door. It was Leo, a brilliant but perpetually nervous junior engineer, his face ashen, clutching a handful of crumpled blueprints. "Dr. Imani, I am so sorry." Leo stammered, his eyes wide with panic. I spilled coffee all over the prototype schematics. The only physical copy for the presentation, it's ruined." Tears welled in his eyes as he held up the stained, illegible papers. Nia glanced at the ruined schematics, then at her watch. Her car was due in 15 minutes, and these were critical, highly detailed drawings. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, a profound calm settled over her. "It's all right, Leo," she said, her voice warm and steady. "Accidents happen. Let's get this cleaned up first." She calmly helped him wipe down the table, reassuring him with a gentle hand on his shoulder. Then, with surprising speed and precision, she walked over to a holographic display. Her fingers danced across the virtual interface, recreating the complex schematics digitally, from memory, adding even more detail than the ruined physical copy had contained. Leo watched in stunned silence, his panic slowly replaced by awe. "There," she said, stepping back from the glowing display. "Better than before. Now go get ready for your own project review. You've got this." This small act of grace under pressure, her unwavering commitment to her team, was Nia's quiet way of saving the cat. As she finally headed out the door to her waiting car, she clipped a sleek, minimalist Aurora Automotive Executive Access card to her jacket lapel. It was a multifunctional card, a masterpiece of discreet design, granting her seamless access to all Aurora Automotive properties and subsidiaries, including the newly acquired network of dealerships. This particular card bore only the subtle, almost imperceptible Aurora Automotive logo and an encrypted digital code. No name, no title. It was a tool for unvarnished observation, a key to unlock the true operational efficiency of her growing empire, not a badge for ostentation. Just a few hours into her journey driving a sleek pre-release Aurora EV prototype, intentionally designed to look subtly unfamiliar to the public eye for incognito testing, a minor software glitch A program diagnostic error for real-world testing purposes forced an unscheduled stop. Coincidentally, the nearest service center was Grand Motors, one of the largest and highest volume dealerships in her newly acquired network. Nia saw this unforeseen delay not as an inconvenience, but as an invaluable opportunity. She decided to use the opportunity to conduct an incognito assessment of its sales and service operations. She wanted to see firsthand how the dealership handled walk-in customers, particularly those who didn't fit the typical affluent profile, and to gauge their commitment to Aurora's new ethical sales and customer service training protocols. She had deliberately dressed down. Comfortable, practical travel clothes, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back simply. To blend in, to observe without drawing any unwanted attention. She wanted to experience the dealership as an ordinary customer, to gain unfiltered insights into its true workings. She pulled the prototype EV into the bustling service bay entrance, then walked into the showroom. The showroom was a glittering expanse of polished floors, gleaming vehicles, and an almost overwhelming aroma of new car scent and expensive coffee. But as she surveyed the scene, Nia, with her sharp analytical eye, noticed something subtly amiss. Sales associates, impeccably dressed, seemed to gravitate towards customers who fit a certain affluent and traditional demographic. Those in designer clothes or arriving in late-model luxury vehicles. Others, like a young family, browse a more affordable model, received only perfunctory greetings, if any. The dealership's sales manager, Mr. Derek Thorne, was holding court near a display model. Thorne, a man whose tailored suit seemed almost too tight across his inflated chest, radiated an aura of arrogant self-importance. His face was a mask of practiced charm, but his eyes constantly scanned the room, calculating potential commissions. He was a man obsessed with appearances and profit margins, his worldview rigidly defined by superficial metrics. He was deeply prejudiced, equating potential sales solely with outward displays of wealth and a specific racial profile. He saw Nia, a black woman in sensible travel clothes without the expected designer handbag or ostentatious jewelry, and having just stepped out of an unfamiliar prototype, and immediately assumed she was not a serious buyer. Perhaps just someone looking to waste time or a tire kicker. He prided himself on his instincts, which in truth were fueled by his ingrained biases and a cynical view of customer service. He decided without hesitation to dismiss her and focus on what he perceived as more lucrative clients. Nia approached him, her voice polite and clear. "Good afternoon," she said. "I seem to be having a minor software glitch with my vehicle, and I'm also interested in learning more about Aurora's new models." Thorne looked up, his eyes sweeping over her with a dismissive glance. His perfectly sculpted smile remained, but his eyes were cold, assessing, already having judged her unworthy. "Do you have an appointment, ma'am?" he asked, his tone laced with a thinly veiled condescension. "And are you actually in the market for a new vehicle, or just browse? Our sales team is quite busy." He paused, letting the implication hang in the air, a silent challenge to her perceived status. He then cast a disdainful look at the prototype EV through the glass doors. "That's an interesting vehicle. Is that one of ours?" "It's a prototype," Nia stated calmly. "And yes, I'm a serious buyer. I'd like to discuss the new Aurora Genesis model and see about getting my current vehicle serviced." She maintained eye contact, a subtle challenge in her gaze. Thorne, however, wasn't interested in a serious conversation. He was already convinced of her lower status. He took a theatrical step back, shaking his head with an air of exaggerated regret. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but our service bay is quite busy with scheduled appointments, and our sales team is focused on serious buyers with clear intent. Perhaps you could try a smaller used car lot down the street. We cater to a different clientele here at Grand Motors. I'm afraid we simply don't have the resources to entertain casual inquiries." His voice, though still outwardly polite, was loud enough to carry through the showroom, ensuring other customers and sales staff heard his dismissal. He gestured vaguely towards the exit, his smirk triumphant. His words, delivered with a smug, dismissive air, were a public denial of service and an outright dismissal based purely on his prejudice and her appearance. It was a direct, humiliating assault on Nia's dignity and her professional standing, even though her true identity was still carefully concealed. But within Nia, a quiet, burning resolve ignited. She would not be dismissed, not in her own dealership. The vast gleaming showroom of Grand Motors, usually a stage for hushed negotiations and triumphant sales, now crackled with an unspoken tension, a direct result of Mr. Derek Thorne's loud, dismissive pronouncements. His voice, coated in condescension, hung in the air, a stark contrast to the sleek, silent electric vehicles that surrounded them. Dr. Nia Imani, accustomed to commanding respect in boardrooms and labs, felt the familiar prickle of prejudice, a cold, calculated burn. Yet her initial irritation quickly gave way to a detached, almost scientific observation. This wasn't just about her. It was about a fundamental flaw in the customer service ethos of her newly acquired asset, a flaw she now had the opportunity to analyze and, crucially, to rectify firsthand. "Sir, I assure you I am a serious buyer, and my vehicle genuinely requires attention," Nia stated, her voice calm and even betraying none of the quiet fury simmering beneath her composed exterior. Her scientific mind, always seeking precision and truth, couldn't tolerate Thorne's vague, dismissive assertions. "If you could please direct me to the service department or allow me to speak with someone who can discuss the Aurora Genesis, I would appreciate it." She maintained eye contact, a subtle challenge in her unwavering gaze. Thorne, however, wasn't interested in logic or customer service. His face, usually a mask of practiced charm, was now flushed with a self-important indignation. He saw Nia's composure not as dignity, but as a stubborn refusal to accept his authority. "Ma'am, I've already told you we don't have time for tire kickers or casual inquiries," he declared, his voice rising, designed to assert his absolute control and dismiss her. He leaned slightly over the counter, his tone dripping with disdain. "This is a high-volume dealership, not a joyride center. Your vehicle looks like some kind of homemade contraption anyway. Move along, please. You're disrupting actual customers." He gestured dismissively towards the exit, implying she should simply leave. Convinced Nia was attempting to cause a scene or was simply wasting his precious time, Thorne decided to escalate. He reached for his phone with a flourish, making sure his actions were visible to the now growing crowd of curious and increasingly uncomfortable customers. "I'm calling dealership security," he announced loudly, his voice echoing in the grand showroom. "We don't tolerate loitering or disruptive individuals in our showroom. You will be escorted from the premises." He believed this public display of authority would intimidate Nia into immediate submission or retreat, thereby validating his instincts and showcasing his firm control. His every movement, every word was designed to emphasize her persistence and her inability to comprehend his warnings, broadcasting his thinly veiled prejudice for all to see. Nia's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Security. This was becoming a public spectacle, exactly what she had hoped to avoid. The thought of being physically removed from her own dealership, a place she now owned, was almost surreal, deeply insulting. Yet she remained rooted to the spot, her quiet strength a stark contrast to Thorne's escalating bluster. Her resolve solidified. This man and the culture of discrimination he represented would not dictate her experience, or more importantly, the experience of any future customer in her dealerships. Just then, a figure clad in the smart uniform of a sales associate approached the sales desk. This was Marcus, an older, experienced sales professional who had quietly worked at Grand Motors for over 15 years. Marcus was a quiet, observant man known for his genuine customer service and his deep, albeit unvoiced, disapproval of Thorne's discriminatory practices. He had been watching Thorne's rude and increasingly aggressive behavior, a knot of concern tightening in his gut. He had seen similar patterns from Thorne before, though none quite so blatant. He knew that Aurora Automotive had recently acquired Grand Motors, and he understood the implications of a new, powerful owner, taking a discreet look at their operations. He harbored a quiet hope that the new ownership would bring about much-needed changes to the dealership's toxic sales culture. "Mr. Thorne," Marcus began, his voice calm and even attempting to de-escalate without directly challenging his manager. "Perhaps I could assist the customer, or at least direct her to the service desk." He subtly tried to intervene, his eyes subtly flicking to Nia, a silent message of reassurance and apology for Thorne's behavior. But Thorne, blinded by his arrogance and convinced of his absolute power, dismissed Marcus with a contemptuous wave of his hand. He saw Marcus as soft, inefficient, and unwilling to enforce the standards Thorne so vehemently protected. Just stick to your own sales, Marcus. I'll manage the showroom guests. Thorne snapped, his voice tight with impatience. There's nothing for you to do here. This woman is being disruptive, and I've already called the local police. Get ready to have her escorted out. He then turned back to his own phone, demonstratively dialing the local precinct. Nia observed this exchange, her mind processing the layers of bias and incompetence. Thorne was not only prejudiced, but also utterly inefficient and destructive to the customer experience. She knew she had to intervene decisively, but not before Thorne had fully incriminated himself. She decided it was time to play her hand subtly, ensuring only the right people understood its significance. With deliberate calm, Nia reached into her travel bag. She pulled out her sleek, minimalist Aurora Automotive Executive Access card. She didn't state her title, didn't make a grand gesture. Instead, she quietly slid the card across the polished counter, pushing it gently towards Marcus, making sure Thorne saw the movement, but couldn't immediately grasp its full devastating significance. Marcus, she said, her voice low and steady, a profound calm radiating from her. Perhaps this will clarify my intention to seek assistance here. The card, with its subtle, almost imperceptible Aurora Automotive logo and its encrypted digital code, was an anomaly. It was a rarity, a symbol of ultimate, unstated authority. Marcus, a seasoned professional, saw the logo. He recognized it instantly. His eyes widened imperceptibly. He knew. Aurora Automotive had acquired Grand Motors. This was no ordinary customer. This was the owner. Without a word, Marcus quickly and discreetly retrieved a small hidden terminal from beneath the counter. He scanned the card. The terminal immediately flashed a single unmistakable message in bright red letters. Authorization level CEO. Immediate compliance required. Marcus's face paled as he saw the readout. His mind raced. This wasn't just a disruptive customer. This was a catastrophic failure, a direct affront to the highest authority within their entire corporate structure. He quickly, silently made a discreet call on Nia's behalf, bypassing Thorne to the Aurora Automotive corporate emergency line. His voice hushed but urgent. Code red, executive issue. Urgent attention required. CEO on site, showroom incident. As the phone rang on Marcus's end, Thorne, oblivious to the quiet seismic shift that had just occurred, continued to berate Nia. And don't think you can play games with me, ma'am. I've seen your type before. Just because you have a fancy piece of plastic doesn't mean you can dictate terms in a high-end establishment. He puffed out his chest, utterly convinced of his triumph. Suddenly, a powerful, commanding voice answered Marcus's call, amplified faintly by his discreet phone speaker. It was a voice that, while unfamiliar to Nia, held the weight of ultimate corporate authority within the dealership operations division. This is Ms. Brenda Lee, head of global dealership operations for Aurora Automotive. The voice stated, her tone sharp with alarm. What is the nature of this code red, Marcus? Thorne, still gloating in his victory, was completely unaware. The trap was sprung. The true power had arrived, and it was about to dismantle his entire world. The vibrant hum of the Grand Motors showroom, typically a backdrop for excited chatter and successful negotiations, was now pierced by the rising alarm in Ms. Brenda Lee's voice, faintly amplified through Marcus's discreetly placed phone. Mr. Derek Thorne, too, caught up in his self-righteous tirade, remained oblivious to the corporate earthquake unfolding around him. He continued to pace, his voice growing louder with each stride, convinced he was orchestrating a decisive victory. He had just finished a dramatic, embellished phone call with the local police department, informing them of a disruptive individual attempting to loiter and cause a scene. He now preened for the benefit of the curious and increasingly uncomfortable customers and staff basking in the attention. His eyes, fixed on Dr. Nia Amani, gleamed with a self-satisfied malice, utterly convinced of his impending vindication. He saw only a problem to be solved, a box to be checked, and a promotion to be earned through his perceived diligence and unwavering adherence to his biased standards. The bustling showroom, usually a symbol of successful sales and luxury vehicles, had dramatically transformed into a crucible of public judgment. Gleaming cars meant to allure now reflected the tense faces of onlookers. Customers who had been admiring a new model or discussing financing now stood in small, whispering groups, their murmurs growing louder, a mix of curiosity, discomfort, and subtle judgment permeating the air. Some whispered about the poor woman, their expressions softening with sympathy, while others, particularly those who shared Thorne's implicit biases, nodded in agreement with his accusations, their faces hardened by their own preconceived notions. The air was thick with the suffocating weight of unspoken expectations and the palpable tension of a brewing storm. Dr. Nia Amani, standing alone at the reception desk, felt the full force of this public scrutiny. Her small frame seemed to shrink under the collective gaze, yet her posture remained stubbornly straight, a testament to the quiet dignity that had always been her anchor. Ms. Brenda Lee, head of Global Dealership Operations, listening intently through Marcus's discreetly placed phone, felt a cold, calculated fury solidify within her. She heard the rising murmurs of the crowd, the approaching sirens, the chilling confidence in Thorne's voice as he continued to hurl veiled insults. This wasn't just about a denied test drive anymore. It was about the blatant systemic prejudice that allowed a manager in her dealership network to publicly humiliate a customer unknowingly, their very owner based solely on his bias. This was an unmitigated disaster, a direct assault on everything Aurora Automotive, and its core values of inclusivity and customer centricity stood for. She pictured Nia standing isolated, yet resilient, a figure of quiet strength amidst the storm. A wave of fierce professional pride mixed with a protective fury for the company's reputation and its visionary CEO washed over her. She allowed the silence on her end to stretch for a beat, letting the tension coil tighter, letting the approaching sirens add to the inexorable pressure. She needed everyone present, the customers, the staff, and most importantly, Thorne, to fully absorb the implications of what was happening. She needed them to witness the injustice in its rawest form before she unleashed the full devastating force of her, and by extension, Nia's authority. Suddenly, Thorne's voice cut through the nervous hum, sharp and triumphant. "Ah, here they are. Finally. You see, ma'am. You see what happens when you try to circumvent our policies. Justice is swift." He straightened up, puffing out his chest, ready to greet the local police officers who were now entering the dealership. Their uniforms crisp, their faces stoic and professionally detached. He strode forward, extending a hand to the lead officer, already rehearsing his embellished account of a difficult customer and his decisive action. Brenda Lee knew this was the exact moment. The ticking clock had run out for Thorne. She wouldn't allow Nia to be further traumatized, nor would she allow the dealership's and Aurora Automotive's values to be trampled. Her decision was made with the swift, unyielding precision of a seasoned executive. This would not be a mere correction. It would be a complete public dismantling of prejudice, a lesson delivered with surgical accuracy and undeniable power. Her voice, usually reserved for urgent conference calls and executive briefings, suddenly boomed through Grand Motor's sophisticated public address system. It wasn't a gentle sound. It was a commanding, resonant declaration filling every corner of the vast showroom, cutting through the general hubbub and the last vestiges of Thorne's smug pronouncements. The sound was startling, arresting. Every head in the showroom snapped towards the ceiling speakers, including Thorne's, who was mid-handshake with the lead police officer. "Attention, all Grand Motors personnel and patrons." Ms. Brenda Lee's voice announced, calm and clear, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that silenced every conversation, every whisper. Her tone carried the weight of absolute corporate power, a force that demanded immediate, unquestioning obedience. "This is Brenda Lee, head of Global Dealership Operations for Aurora Automotive. I am currently monitoring an incident unfolding at the sales desk involving a customer and your sales manager, Mr. Derek Thorne." The impact was immediate and visceral. Thorne, who had been preening for the arriving officers, literally froze mid-handshake, his jaw going slack. His triumphant smirk evaporated, replaced by a mask of utter disbelief. The color drained from his face, leaving it a sickly ashen pale. He looked up at the ceiling speakers as if Lee herself had manifested there, a spectral harbinger of his impending doom. The lead police officer quickly retracted his hand, his professional demeanor giving way to a look of confused alarm as he recognized the voice and the unexpected corporate intervention. Lee's voice, now colder, sharper, continued to pierce the stunned silence. "Mr. Thorne, I have been listening to your live feed, and your conduct this afternoon is not only utterly appalling, it is a gross violation of every principle Aurora Automotive stands for. Your baseless accusations, your discriminatory remarks, and your egregious mishandling of a legitimate customer, particularly your attempts to deny service based on appearance, are unacceptable and frankly indefensible." Thorne tried to speak, to stammer a denial, but no sound escaped his throat. He looked around wildly as if searching for an escape, a way to vanish from the public spotlight that had just turned on him with devastating intensity. His arrogance, built on the shifting sands of his own prejudice, crumbled under the sheer weight of Lee's authority. The arena had shifted. He was no longer the accuser. He was the accused, trapped, exposed, and utterly powerless. The ticking clock had not only run out for Nia, but for Thorne himself. His downfall was now inevitable, and it would be witnessed by all. The distinct wail of police sirens, no longer distant, sliced through the refined air of the Grand Motors showroom. Their flashing blue and red lights painted frantic, pulsing streaks across the grand entrance, visible through the dealership's polished glass doors. Mr. Derek Thorne, puffed up with self-importance, beamed at the approaching chaos he had orchestrated, utterly convinced of his impending vindication. He adjusted his impeccably tailored suit jacket, mentally composing the commendation he expected for his heroic act of thwarting an unruly customer. His eyes, devoid of empathy, gleamed with a mix of ingrained prejudice and professional ambition. He saw only a problem to be solved, a box to be checked, and a promotion to be earned through his perceived diligence. The opulent dealership showroom, typically a discreet space for exclusive test drives and private financing discussions, had been dramatically transformed into a crucible of public judgment. Customers who had been admiring new models or waiting for their financing approvals now stood in small, whispering groups, their murmurs growing louder. A palpable mix of curiosity, discomfort, and subtle judgment permeated the air. Some whispered about the poor woman, their expressions softening with sympathy, while others, particularly those who shared Thorne's implicit biases, nodded in agreement with his accusations, their faces hardened by their own preconceived notions. The air was thick with the suffocating weight of unspoken expectations and the palpable tension of a brewing storm. Dr. Nia Imani, standing alone at the sales desk, felt the full force of this public scrutiny. Her small frame seemed to shrink under the collective gaze, yet her posture remained stubbornly straight, a testament to the quiet dignity that had always been her anchor. Ms. Brenda Lee, head of global dealership operations, listening intently through Marcus's discreetly placed phone, felt a cold, calculated fury solidify within her. She heard the rising murmurs of the crowd, the approaching sirens, the chilling confidence in Thorne's voice. This wasn't just about a denied test drive anymore. It was about the blatant systemic prejudice that allowed a manager in her dealership network to publicly humiliate a customer unknowingly, their very owner based solely on his bias. This was an unmitigated disaster, a direct assault on everything Aurora Automotive and its core values stood for. She pictured Nia standing isolated yet resilient. A wave of fierce professional pride mixed with a protective fury for the company's reputation washed over her. She allowed the silence to stretch for a beat, letting the tension coil tighter, letting the approaching sirens add to the inexorable pressure. She needed everyone present, the customers, the staff, and most importantly, Thorne, to fully absorb the implications of what was happening. She needed them to witness the injustice in its rawest form before she unleashed the full devastating force of her, and by extension, Nia's authority. Suddenly, Thorne's voice cut through the nervous hum, sharp and triumphant. "Ah, here they are. Finally. You see, ma'am. You see what happens when you try to circumvent our policies. Justice is swift." He straightened up, puffing out his chest, ready to greet the local police officers who were now entering the dealership. Their uniforms crisp, their faces stoic and professionally detached. He strode forward, extending a hand to the lead officer, already rehearsing his embellished account. Brenda Lee knew this was the exact moment. The ticking clock had run out for Thorne. She wouldn't allow Nia to be further traumatized, nor would she allow the dealership's and Aurora Automotive's values to be trampled. Her decision was made with the swift, unyielding precision of a seasoned executive. This would not be a mere correction. It would be a complete public dismantling of prejudice, a lesson delivered with surgical accuracy and undeniable power. Her voice, usually reserved for urgent conference calls and executive briefings, suddenly boomed through Grand Motors' sophisticated public address system. It wasn't a gentle sound. It was a commanding, resonant declaration filling every corner of the vast showroom, cutting through the general hubbub and the last vestiges of Thorne's smug pronouncements. The sound was startling, arresting. Every head in the showroom snapped towards the ceiling speakers, including Thorne's, who was mid-handshake with the lead police officer. "Attention, all Grand Motors personnel and patrons. Ms. Brenda Lee's voice announced calm and clear, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that silenced every conversation, every whisper. Her tone carried the weight of absolute corporate power, a force that demanded immediate, unquestioning obedience. This is Brenda Lee, head of Global Dealership Operations for Aurora Automotive. I am currently monitoring an incident unfolding at the sales desk involving a customer and your sales manager, Mr. Derek Thorne. The impact was immediate and visceral. Thorne, who had been preening for the arriving officers, literally froze mid-handshake, his jaw going slack. His triumphant smirk evaporated, replaced by a mask of utter disbelief. The color drained from his face, leaving it a sickly ashen pale. He looked up at the ceiling speakers as if Lee herself had manifested there, a spectral harbinger of his impending doom. The lead police officer quickly retracted his hand, his professional demeanor giving way to a look of confused alarm, as he recognized the voice and the unexpected corporate intervention. Lee's voice, now colder, sharper, continued to pierce the stunned silence. Mr. Thorne, I have been listening to your live feed, and your conduct this afternoon is not only utterly appalling, it is a gross violation of every principle Aurora Automotive stands for. Your baseless accusations, your discriminatory remarks, and your egregious mishandling of a legitimate customer, particularly your attempts to deny service based on appearance, are unacceptable and frankly indefensible. Thorne tried to speak, to stammer a denial, but no sound escaped his throat. He looked around wildly, as if searching for an escape, a way to vanish from the public spotlight that had just turned on him with devastating intensity. His arrogance, built on the shifting sands of his own prejudice, crumbled under the sheer weight of Lee's authority. The arena had shifted. He was no longer the accuser. He was the accused, trapped, exposed, and utterly powerless. The ticking clock had not only run out for Nia, but for Thorne himself. His downfall was now inevitable, and it would be witnessed by all. The Grand Motors showroom, previously a stage for Mr. Derek Thorne's arrogant display, was now hushed into an almost reverent silence. Ms. Brenda Lee's voice, amplified and chillingly calm, continued to reverberate through the dealership's public address system. The sudden public revelation of her identity and the implicit power that came with it had shattered Thorne's world in an instant. His previous arrogance had dissolved into abject horror, replaced by the gut-wrenching realization that he had just publicly humiliated the CEO of the entire dealership network he managed. Lee's voice, though disembodied, seemed to fill every inch of the dealership, her authority undeniable. Mr. Thorne, she continued, each word a hammer blow of condemnation. Your blatant display of prejudice, your false accusations, and your egregious mishandling of a legitimate customer, particularly your attempts to deny service based on appearance, are unacceptable and frankly indefensible. The disruptive individual you have been publicly harassing is Dr. Nia Imani, the CEO of Aurora Automotive, and as of 6 months ago, the sole owner of the Grand Motors dealership network. A collective audible gasp swept through the showroom. Customers who had been murmuring or watching with a mix of discomfort and judgment now exchanged wide-eyed, terrified glances. Whispers of, "The owner's here," and "the CEO," rippled through the crowd, their expressions shifting from curiosity to utter astonishment, then to dawning shame, as they realized they had been silent witnesses to such an egregious act of discrimination. The police officers who had entered the dealership moments earlier now stood rigidly, their faces mirroring the widespread shock, their initial purpose completely derailed by the unforeseen corporate earthquake. They knew the immense, almost untouchable power of Dr. Nia Imani, CEO of Aurora Automotive, a company whose acquisition of the Grand Motors network had recently made headlines in the business world. Thorne, in a desperate, pathetic attempt to salvage his rapidly crumbling world, stammered, "No. This is a trick, a lie. She's lying. This woman is lying. This is a setup." He gestured wildly at Nia, his voice cracking with a desperate, frantic energy, refusing to accept the catastrophic reality that was unfolding around him. He took a stumbling step forward, as if to physically challenge the disembodied voice, his mind unable to reconcile his ingrained biases with the irrefutable truth now echoing through the entire dealership. Breathless moment. Just as Thorne's desperate denial hung in the air, echoing his unraveling sanity, Brenda Lee's voice cut him off, sharp and final, leaving no room for doubt or rebuttal. "Mr. Thorne." Lee's voice boomed, now imbued with an unyielding steel. Consider your employment with Grand Motors and all Aurora Automotive subsidiaries terminated immediately, effective immediately. The words were delivered with the clinical precision of a surgeon making an incision. Your actions today are a direct violation of our core values of respect, integrity, and inclusivity. We will be conducting a full internal investigation into your discriminatory practices, and I assure you any further attempts at harassment or defamation will be met with the full force of Aurora Automotive's legal department. You will be hearing from our legal team shortly regarding the full implications of your misconduct. She then turned her attention to the bewildered police officers, her voice softening slightly but retaining its unwavering authority. Officers, this is Brenda Lee. There has been a misunderstanding. The matter has been handled. Mr. Thorne, formerly the sales manager, has been terminated for gross misconduct and harassment. There are no charges necessary for our CEO. Please ensure Mr. Thorne is escorted from the premises without further incident. He will not be returning to Grand Motors. The unraveling Thorne collapsed against a gleaming electric vehicle on display, a pathetic, defeated figure. His face was a mask of sheer horror, his eyes wide and unseeing, staring into the abyss of his ruined career and reputation. The arrogant sneer, the triumphant posture, the meticulous control, all had vanished, replaced by the image of a broken, humiliated man. He tried to speak again, a choked, guttural sound, but no words formed. He was utterly speechless, consumed by the magnitude of his downfall. Marcus, the sales associate who had stood witness to Thorne's entire performance, now stepped forward, a look of profound relief and vindication on his face. He looked at Nia, offering her a subtle, affirming nod, a silent acknowledgement of her quiet strength and the justice that had just been served. He then moved towards Thorne, his expression grim but determined. "Mr. Thorne, you heard Ms. Lee. Let's go." The police officers, now fully briefed and understanding the corporate power at play, calmly approached Thorne, and without resistance escorted him away, his pathetic figure disappearing around the corner of the showroom. Witness reactions. The other customers, who had been judgmental or merely curious, now looked at Nia with a mixture of awe and profound respect. Several people discreetly gave her sympathetic smiles or small affirming nods, some even offering hushed apologies for their earlier assumptions. The atmosphere in the dealership, which had been thick with tension, now hummed with a quiet collective sigh of relief, quickly followed by murmurs of shock and admiration for Brenda Lee's decisive intervention, and by extension, the unseen power of Dr. Nia Imani. Nia, though still processing the whirlwind of emotions, felt a powerful surge of validation. Her quiet dignity had been acknowledged, her innocence vindicated, and the injustice she endured had been met with swift, undeniable justice. The grand, opulent showroom, once an arena of her humiliation, had transformed into a stage for her triumph, a quiet CEO's vindication witnessed by all. The opulent hush returned to the Grand Motors showroom, but it was a different kind of quiet now. The palpable tension had dissipated, replaced by a lingering aura of awe and a profound sense of justice delivered. Mr. Derek Thorne, his face still a mask of horror and disbelief, was summarily escorted from the premises by the police, his pathetic figure shrinking with each step away from the scene of his public disgrace. His arrogance, once his defining characteristic, had utterly evaporated, leaving behind only the bitter taste of ruin. Aurora Automotive wasted no time. Following Brenda Lee's directive, a full internal investigation was immediately launched into Thorne's conduct. Within days, the audit uncovered a disturbing pattern, a litany of suppressed customer complaints, particularly from minority customers, detailing similar instances of subtle discrimination, unwarranted scrutiny, and outright denial of service based on appearance. It became chillingly clear that Thorne had meticulously cultivated a culture of prejudice on the sales floor, subtly intimidating sales associates who might challenge him, and meticulously crafting a profile of who was worthy of Grand Motors' premium service. The evidence was damning. Aurora Automotive's legal department wasted no time initiating a civil suit against Thorne for defamation and systemic bias, ensuring he faced not just professional ruin, but also significant legal consequences. His reputation in the automotive sales industry was irrevocably destroyed. Blacklisted from every reputable establishment, he quickly found himself unemployable and ostracized, left with nothing but the bitter ashes of his own prejudice and the crushing weight of his colossal misjudgment. While Thorne's downfall was swift and absolute, the reaction of others involved took a different turn. Mr. Robert Vance, the general manager of Grand Motors, was next on Brenda Lee's and then directly Nia Imani's call list. Robert was a long-standing, seemingly competent manager, known for his meticulous attention to operational details and for consistently meeting sales targets. However, his competency had been marred by a critical blind spot, a complacent reliance on Thorne to manage the sales floor, effectively turning a blind eye to his subtle, yet deeply damaging discriminatory practices. He had been too focused on the dealership's bottom line and sales figures to truly scrutinize the how behind those numbers, allowing Thorne's prejudices to fester unchecked and create a toxic environment for both customers and staff. When Brenda Lee recounted Thorne's behavior, Robert's initial reaction was a mixture of shock and disbelief. But, Derek, he's always been so efficient with numbers. He stammered, genuinely taken aback. But as Lee and then Nia herself systematically laid out the evidence, the suppressed complaints, the clear pattern of bias, the public humiliation of the CEO in her own dealership, Robert's defensiveness crumbled. A wave of genuine remorse washed over him. He realized the depth of the humiliation Nia had endured and the systemic issues within his own organization that had allowed it to happen. He had trusted Thorne, but more profoundly, he had failed to truly lead to instill the values of true inclusivity that Aurora Automotive championed. "Dr. Imani," Robert said, his voice thick with uncharacteristic humility. I am profoundly sorry for what you experienced today and for the environment that allowed such a vile display of prejudice to occur under my management. I assure you this is utterly unacceptable, a gross dereliction of my duty to our customers and to Grand Motors' true values. I see now that this was not just an isolated incident, but a symptom of systemic complacency and a failure to actively ensure an equitable environment. I vow to rectify this, immediately and comprehensively. He was a Noihyo Lam person who misunderstood in the purest sense, not malicious but arrogant and complacent in his focus on numbers, blinded by the perceived invulnerability of his position and a lack of direct oversight on customer experience beyond metrics. Robert Vance kept his word. Within days, Grand Motors, under his direct and immediate supervision, issued a heartfelt public apology to Dr. Nia Imani, making headlines for its rare honesty and humility in the automotive industry. Internally, Robert implemented a sweeping mandatory anti-discrimination training program for all dealership staff, from sales associates to service technicians to executive leadership. He personally oversaw the establishment of a new customer dignity and inclusivity protocol, ensuring that every complaint of discrimination was investigated with the utmost urgency and transparency. He actively sought out diverse talent for new hires, fostering an environment where merit, empathy, and respect truly reigned. As a gesture of personal atonement and a commitment to genuine change, he reached out to Aurora Automotive's community outreach programs, offering the dealership's facilities for free STEM and automotive workshops for underserved youth, an offer Nia, recognizing genuine remorse, graciously accepted. Mr. Robert Vance, once complacent, became a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion within the automotive sales industry, actively partnering with Aurora Automotive on new initiatives, a testament to the powerful, transformative impact of Nia Imani's quiet resolve and her profound commitment to ethical change. He kept his job, but on strict probation, forced to rebuild trust and redefine his leadership. Back in the now peaceful private office generously offered by the apologetic dealership staff, Nia sat across from Marcus, the sales associate. The opulent room felt different, lighter, almost cleansed of the earlier tension. Marcus still looked a little awestruck by the swift and absolute nature of the CEO's intervention, but his eyes held a deep, unwavering respect. "Marcus," Nia began, her voice soft but firm, "I want to personally thank you. Your quick thinking, your integrity, and your willingness to act in a difficult situation made all the difference today. You upheld the true values of this dealership, even when your manager did not." Marcus, humbled, shifted slightly in his seat. "It was just my job, Dr. Imani. I've been here a long time. I've seen things. And I knew that card. I knew what it meant. And I knew what was right. Thorne, he was always like that, always judging. I'm just glad someone finally saw him for what he was." He then reflected on the systemic issues, his brow furrowed. It's a relief to see change coming from the top, ma'am. We needed it. Nia nodded slowly, her gaze thoughtful. This incident, while deeply unpleasant, has crystallized something for me, Marcus. It showed me firsthand the insidious nature of unchecked prejudice, even within an organization I now own. It's a microcosm of a larger problem. People like Mr. Thorne exist. They prey on perceived weakness on differences, but true strength isn't about shouting the loudest or being the most aggressive. It's about quiet dignity, unwavering integrity, and knowing who you are and what you stand for. It's about being prepared to stand up not just for yourself, but for what is right for those who don't have a voice. She pulled out her sleek minimalist Aurora Automotive Executive Access card, turning it over in her fingers. This card, she said, tapping it lightly. It's not just about access, Marcus. It's about responsibility. It's about recognizing the power we have and using it not for personal gain or to intimidate, but to make sure that others, especially those who don't have a voice, are treated with fairness and respect. She smiled, a genuine, warm smile. You handled yourself with incredible grace today, Marcus. You are exactly the kind of person we need in leadership here. Marcus, a quiet man, felt a surge of pride. He simply nodded a silent acknowledgement of her words. For Nia, the incident, while terrifying in the moment, had become a pivotal one. It had underscored the depth of her commitment to ethical business and social justice. More importantly, it had subtly but profoundly boosted her confidence in her public role. She had faced down an aggressor, stood her ground, and witnessed justice unfold before her eyes, not just as a victim, but as the quiet ultimate authority. The fear had not vanished entirely, but it had been replaced by a quiet resolve, a new understanding of her place in the world, and a burgeoning desire to use her own intelligence and immense influence for good. The soft hum of the dealership's air conditioning now felt like a prelude to a future filled with purpose, a future where such injustices would be systematically dismantled. 7 years later, the morning sun, warm and golden, streamed through the expansive glass facade of the newly constructed Aurora Automotive Global Headquarters. It wasn't just an office building. It was a living monument to Dr. Nia Imani's vision, meticulously brought to life under her unwavering leadership. Rows of gleaming transparent solar panels now adorned its roof and south-facing walls, silently harnessing the energy of the day. Inside, the design was open, collaborative, and infused with biophilic elements, living walls, natural light, and quiet zones for focused work. Beyond the bustling open-plan offices, a vibrant community outreach center, a public green space, and a cutting-edge ethical sourcing lab bustled with activity. The air hummed not with the sterile quiet of an old-world corporation, but with the innovative energy of collective purpose and shared ambition. Aurora Automotive, under Nia's increasingly influential guidance, had solidified its position as a global leader in ethical electric vehicle technology and sustainable innovation, consistently outperforming its competitors and earning widespread acclaim, not just for its groundbreaking advancements, but for its unwavering integrity and profound social impact. Dr. Nia Imani, now in her mid-40s, was an even more formidable and respected figure globally. Her once quiet influence had blossomed into widespread recognition, not for self-promotion, but for the tangible positive change she brought to the world. She still possessed that methodical scientific mind, but it was now coupled with a seasoned executive's strategic acumen and an even deeper well of empathy. She had transformed Aurora Automotive into a household name, synonymous not only with cutting-edge sustainable mobility, but also with corporate integrity and social responsibility. The Grand Motors dealership network, completely revitalized under her direct oversight and infused with Aurora Automotive's eco-friendly technologies, was now the world's leading sustainable and inclusive automotive retail chain, winning countless awards for its exceptional customer service, its incredibly diverse staff, and its unwavering commitment to equitable practices. Nia, though, still valuing her privacy, now embraced her public role as a thought leader, using her platform to advocate for systemic change on a global scale. Her personal life, once marked by the intense solitude of a driven scientist, was now rich and fulfilling. While still cherishing her quiet moments of intellectual pursuit, she actively sought connection and collaboration beyond her professional sphere. Her elegant minimalist home, a space of thoughtful design and cherished books, often hosted lively discussions with friends and colleagues, filled with the hum of intellectual curiosity and genuine laughter. She had found a genuine connection with Dr. Elias Thorne, a brilliant astrophysicist and environmental advocate she had met at a global sustainability conference. Elias admired her vision, shared her passion for a better world, and deeply respected her fierce independence and quiet strength. Their conversations were lively, their respect mutual, and their companionship a gentle balm to her once guarded heart. On this particular afternoon, Nia stood beside Ms. Brenda Lee, now the proud and highly effective Chief Operating Officer of Aurora Automotive's Global Retail and Customer Experience Division. She was no longer just the head of dealership operations, but a confident, articulate leader, her natural intelligence and quiet strength honed by Nia's mentorship and her own unwavering commitment to ethical leadership. She had spearheaded the company's internal ethical audits across all Grand Motors properties, ensuring every new service, every customer interaction, and every staff training module adhered to rigorous fairness and transparency standards, turning Nia's bold vision into tangible reality. She often found herself reflecting on that fateful day at the Grand Motors showroom, the quiet woman at the sales counter, who had unknowingly set a chain of events into motion that transformed her own career and the entire dealership network. She had seen the legend unfold, and now she was helping to write its next groundbreaking chapter. The Aurora Automotive Community Impact Initiative just secured its 5th major urban transportation partnership. Dr. Imani, Brenda, reported, a proud smile on her face. Our community outreach programs are truly making a difference, and our fair hiring practices are being adopted as a standard by other major automotive and retail conglomerates. Excellent, Brenda. Nia replied, her eyes sweeping over the bustling hub, a symbol of their shared triumph. Your dedication has been instrumental in making this dream a reality. You truly embody the spirit of Aurora Automotive reimagined. Brenda shrugged modestly, but her pride was evident. I learned from the best, Dr. Imani. You showed me what was possible. You showed me that a business could be about more than just making profit. It could be about doing good, about making a real impact on people's lives, and about fostering genuine respect. This resonated deeply with Nia. Her journey from a scientist denied service in her own dealership to a global leader of an ethical empire wasn't just about financial success. It was about purpose. The quiet wisdom she had cultivated, the lessons from her favorite scientific pioneers who pushed boundaries with integrity, had all converged into a powerful philosophy of paying it forward. Her commitment to this philosophy manifested in tangible ways. Nia, with the full backing of Aurora Automotive, established the Imani Automotive and Equity Fund, a multi-million-dollar global foundation. This fund was dedicated to providing scholarships, comprehensive mentorship, and crucial seed funding for aspiring Black and minority entrepreneurs in automotive engineering, sustainable technology, and dealership management. The fund also actively supported legal aid organizations fighting discrimination in public accommodations and retail environments, ensuring that the injustices she had experienced and witnessed would be met with legal recourse for others. The fund was housed in a beautifully renovated wing of her alma mater, a symbolic bridge between academia and cutting-edge industry. She personally advised and invested in several startups, ensuring they had the resources and guidance to succeed. She also frequently gave keynote speeches at prestigious universities, international tech conferences, and forums on social justice, sharing her incredible story with compelling honesty. Her talks always covered her early career struggles, her quiet ambition, the shock of the Grand Motors incident, and the broader societal battle against prejudice. Her message was clear. True power lies not in wealth or status alone, but in using one's position to dismantle injustice and create equitable opportunities for all. She was a living testament that courage could indeed alter destinies, and that light always found a path even in the deepest darkness. Many of the young men and women she mentored saw in her the vibrant, ambitious scientist from her early days, now fully realized and empowered her legend, inspiring a new generation. One afternoon, a young woman named Zara, a recent graduate from a historically Black university and a recipient of the Imani Automotive and Equity Fund scholarship, approached Nia after one of her talks. Zara was struggling to launch her ethically sourced AI-driven vehicle component manufacturing startup, facing similar skepticism and resource limitations that Nia had once encountered in the early days of Aurora Automotive. Dr. Imani. Zara began, her voice filled with admiration and a hint of desperation. Your story. It gives me so much hope. But I feel like I'm constantly hitting brick walls. Investors just don't take me seriously. They see me as just another diversity hire trying to overreach into a male-dominated field. Nia smiled warmly, a genuine empathy in her eyes. Brick walls are just opportunities to find a new path, Zara. Sometimes you have to build your own door, brick by brick, with integrity and unwavering belief. Tell me, what are your biggest challenges right now, and what solutions have you already explored? They sat for over an hour in a quiet corner of the university hall, Nia listening intently, offering practical advice, connecting Zara with key Aurora automotive engineers and ethical sourcing contacts, and reminding her of the fierce inner strength she possessed. As Zara left, her face alight with renewed determination and a clear path forward, Nia felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was the true reward, helping others unlock their own legends, to illuminate their own paths forward, and to pay forward the opportunities she had earned. The final image of Nia's story finds her standing in front of a newly unveiled interactive digital art installation she designed for the revitalized Grand Motors flagship dealership. It's late afternoon, and the setting sun casts a warm golden glow across the sleek, vibrant artwork. The installation, a powerful piece depicting diverse faces, hands reaching out in collaboration, and stylized interconnected energy circuits, transforming into towering ancient trees, hums with unspoken narratives of justice, resilience, and the harmonious integration of technology and nature. Beside her stands Marcus, now the dealership's highly respected general manager, his face beaming with pride and profound respect. The Grand Motors showroom, once the arena of her humiliation, is now a beacon of inclusivity, bustling with diverse customers and staff from all walks of life, a living testament to Nia's transformative vision. Nia smiles, a deep, contented smile that reaches her eyes. The incident with the manager Derek Thorne, once a source of deep pain and public humiliation, has been transformed into the very genesis of her amplified purpose, turning a moment of darkness into a lifelong spring of light and inspiration, illuminating the path for countless others who would follow. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies, and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming stories.